pranams to everybody. Hare Krishna. This is day 5 of our Navadvipa Parikrama, the last day, the final day. And we're going to go to Jhanudvipa and Modrumdvipa, which are right next door to Ritudvipa, where we came yesterday. We went yesterday through Koladvipa into Ritudvipa. And now we're coming into Jhanudvipa, and then we're going to go into Modrumdvipa. Then we've completed all the 9 islands of our Navadvipa Parikrama. So that's nice. So yes, so we'll have a kirtan. We'll be celebrating Harinam today, again by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and we'll sing Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa, which is filled with all the names and pastimes of Krishna. Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa, Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa, Yashodanandana Anandavardhana Nandatanaya Rasa Rupa, Yashodanandana Anandavardhana Nandatanaya Rasa Rupa, Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa, Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa, Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa, Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa, Utanagatana Trinavartahana Shakatai Bhajana Gopala, Utanagatana Trinavartahana Shakata Bhanjana Gopala, Murali Vadana Agabaka Mardana Govardhana Dari Rakala, Murali Vadana Agabaka Mardana Govardhana Dari Rakala, Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa, Harinama Tua Keshi Mardana Rama Vimohana Surapati Darpa Vinashi, Keshi Mardana Rama Vimohana Surapati Darpa Vinashi, Arista Shatana Gopi Vimohana Yamuna Pulina Vilasi, Arista Shatana Gopi Vimohana Yamuna Pulina Vilasi, Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa, Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa, Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa, Tua Aneka Swarupa, Radhika Ranjana Rasa Rasayana Radha Kunda Kunja Bihari, Radha Kunda Kunda Kunja Bihari, Rama Krishna Hari Madhava Narahari Matsyari Gane Avatari, Rama Krishna Hari Madhava Narahari Matsyari Gane Avatari, Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa, Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa, Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa, Swarupa, Govinda Vamana, Sri Madhusudana, Yadava Chandra Vanamali, Govinda Vamana Shri Madhusudana Yadava Chandra Vanamali Kaliya Shatana Gokula Ranjana Radha Banjan Sukali Kaliya Shatana Gokula Ranjana Radha Bhajan Sukakali Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa Ityadike Nama Swarupe Prakama Baduka Mora Rati Rage Ityadika Nama Swarupe Prakama Baduka Mora Rati Rage Rupa Swarupa Pada Jani Nija Sampada Bhakati Vinoda Dori Maje Rupa Swarupa Pada Jani Nija Sampada Bhakati Vinoda Dori Mage Hari Nama Tua Aneka Swarupa Nama Tua Aneka Swarupa Hari Nama Tua Aneka Swarupa Yashodanandana Ananda Vardana Nandatanaya Rasakupa Yashodanandana Ananda Vardana Nandatanaya Rasakupa Jaya Hari Nama Jaya Hari Nama Hari Nama Jaya Hari Nama Nama Jaya Hari Nama Hari Nama Jaya Hari Nama Jaya Hari Nama Jaya Hari Nama Hari Nama Jaya Hari Nama Jaya Bhakti Vinod Chako Bhakti Vinod Bhakti Vinod Chako Bhakti Vinod Gaura Hey Gaura Hey Gaura Hey Gaura Hey Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Oh Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Jaya Nityananda Rai Jaya Nityananda Rai Jaya Nityananda Rai Oh Nitai Hey Oh Nitai Hey Jaya Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura Hari Sachi Nandan Jaya Gaura Hari Gaura He 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 Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe Jaya Radha Gopinata Radha Gopinata Radhe Jaya Radha Vinod Bihari Radha Vinod Bihari Radhe Oh Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Oh Radhe 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 Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Gan Habika Giri Hari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Radha Govinda Dev Ki Jai Radha Gopinath Ju Ki Jai Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Sachinandana Gauda Hari Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Surabhi Kunj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimat Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaurikishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sabhaboma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Varantaracharya Ki Jai. Jai Rasik Siramani Srila Vishnath Chakrabarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shibata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Siga Hol Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Shri Gauda Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai. Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gaudamdvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritujip Janadvip Modandvip Rududvip Atmaka Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dwarasa Vadmatmika Shri Brajamandal Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kun Shamakun Ganga Jamuna Devi Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shrimati Yogamaya Purnamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Gopishwa Mahadev Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai. Ketramandal Ki Jai. Nashinga Sadhava Vinasika Nashinga Dev Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakta Prava Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Chari Dham Ki Jai. Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai. Chari Acharya Ki Jai. Akara Matraj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai. Shri Keshav Ji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai. Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samaga Bhaktavinda Ki Jai, Gauda Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmay Shri Guruve Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadavaktaya Namo Namaha Priya Surupe Daita Surupe Prema Surupe Sahajabi Rupe Nijana Rupe Prabhu Eka Rupe Tatana Rupe Swavilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavartino Kalo Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundaratuti Katamba Sadabita Sada Hridare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha Yam pravajantamanapetyamapeti krityam dvaipaino viraha katara ajuhava putre titam mayatayo taravo vinedustam sarvabhutam munimanatoshmi bhaktya vihina aparara lakshay shiptascha karma madhye kripamai tvam sharanam prapana vrinde namaste charanarvindam bhajami radham aravindanetram स्मरामि राधां मधुरस्मितस्यां वदामि राधां करुणावरदं ततो मम नास्ति गतेन कापि तवैवस्मि न जीवामि त्वयि विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वं नयमं शरणन्तिकम्. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasarashi Shimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasarashi Shimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, I'm offering my Dandavat pranams to the revealer of this Dham, Namo Bhaktivinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaur Shakti Swarapaya Rupanuga Varaite, and to all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavnivyo Vaishnavena Namaha. So yesterday we went to Ritudvip and we visited Radha Kund. And this morning I woke and I felt quite dissatisfied that I hadn't discussed the Radha Kund manifesting by the mercy of Mahaprabhu. We didn't touch on that. We talked about the description of Radha Kund. But Mahaprabhu, he discovered Radha Kund. Only he could discover Radha Kund directly in the two like buffalo waterholes of Goriket and Shyamaket. These two, one light and one dark buffalo hole. But the real mercy from Radha Kund comes from the personalities who resided in Radha Kund, and this we didn't mention yesterday. And a principal personality, of course, is Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das, he resided here for practically 40 years. Rupa Goswami, he resided in Terkadamba. He resided practically under a tree, different tree every night. But in many places, Rupa Goswami resided, but not specifically Radhakund. And Sanatan Goswami, he stays in Vadasatila, the modern Mohan temple now we have, and he stayed in Nandagaon, a place there near Pavan Sarovar. But they would travel around. But Raghunath Das, he was requested by his two seniors, Rupa and Sanatan, to reside here in Radhakund, which he did for 40 years, and wrote so many beautiful literatures, Vilap Kusumanjali and the Sri Stavavali, which is a compilation of many different um, astakams, etc., and writings, so beautiful descriptions of the Brijbasis and so on. So Raghunath Das, of course, received so much mercy from Swarup Damodar and Sachinandan Gaurahari to be able to remain for so long in Rad. And then, of course, Raghunath Das is that personality who um, constructed what we have today of Radhakund. It was him who desired that. And when that Seti approached him with all that money, then Raghunath put that Seti in charge of the construction to construct the two kunds as we see them today. So he's entirely responsible for that. So we didn't mention this yesterday, so I'm just filling in because I felt that I should have done this yesterday, so I'm doing it today. So Raghunath Das and of course our beloved Srila Krishna's Kaviraj, he resided here since about the age of 18 or 19 years old is when he got that vision from Nityananda Balaram to after his brother has insulted Miniketana Ram to come to Radhakund. So he came and he stayed for his whole life and gave us the Govinda Lilamrita, as well as, of course, the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Krishna's Kaviraj, we are very grateful for giving us a mood of this Radhakund. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has his own place in Radhakund, where he even wanted to make the Western devotees friendly or feel at home and gave them a Western toilet, which was unheard of really in India at that time. This is how far reaching Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is, his moods to accommodate, all classes of personalities. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur resided here. And before Bhaktivinoda Thakur, of course, was Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He was the Mahant of Radha Kund for a long period of time with his disciple Baladev Vidyabhushan. So they resided here also. And then all the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati with his Parikrama parties would come, and Srila Bhamana Maharaj, and of course my beloved Gurudev would come regularly. And Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada came. So all these personalities are what um, uh, who they are responsible for us having the atmosphere and the reality, the beauty, the speciality of Radhakund. So I just wanted to mention this because I made an omission yesterday when we were describing Radhakund. So now today we're walking actually from Ritudvip, from Radhakund, into the beautiful forest of Jhanudvipa. Jhanudvipa is an incredible forest, and it gets its name from Jhanu Muni or Jhanu Rishi. Jhanu Muni is how he's regularly called. And he was performing his meditation here. And in his meditation, he had a vision of Sachinandan Gaurahari. He saw that beautiful golden complexion form of Mahaprabhu. And he remained in samadhi here for many, many years. This was in Satya Yuga, and then he came through into Dwarpa and Treta Yuga. He was an old rishi. And we hear about this place of the manifestation of Ganga Devi, because we know the pastime that Jana Rishi has himself a direct relationship with Ganga Devi. So this pastime of Ganga Devi is very beautiful to hear. So there was a king called Bahuka, and he had many wives, and he left his kingdom being threatened by various enemies. I'm going to describe this pastime according to the ninth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is in the ninth canto. I've forgotten the chapter. I'm not sure. Somebody can prompt me and tell me the chapter. But it's about there's two chapters in the ninth canto on the descent of the Ganga. So this is what I'm going to describe now. So Bahuka, he had a number of wives, and he left his body in the forest, and his principal wife wanted to commit sati. She wanted to climb on the funeral fire with her husband, which is common in those days, of course. And the guru of Bahuka is called Aurava. And he instructed Sati that she must not do that because she was pregnant. And the son had a purpose in this world. So he forbade her to get on the fire. But then the other queens of Bahuka, they'd tried to poison his first wife. And it's described that from her womb manifested this great personality called Sagar. Sa means with, and Gar means poison. So he was able to withstand the strength of that poison and still took his birth, even though the co-wives had tried to poison him. So he was a great personality. And he had two wives. One was called Sumita, and one was called Keshini. And Sumita, she had 60,000 sons. And Keshini had one son called Asamjasa. Just Asamjasa. Let's get the name right. I want you to hear the right name. Asamanjasa. That's his name. Yes. Asamanjasa. That's the son of Keshini. And King Saga was performing a Ashvamedha Yagya. He performed a number of Ashvamedha Yagyas, and as usual, that we hear the pastimes, Indradev became threatened when a earthling, someone from this planet, starts to perform Ashvamedha Yagyas, because that's the qualification for taking the post of Indra. So Indra is very attached to his post, and there's a number of occasions in the Prithu Yagya when he also tries to steal the horse. So he stole the horse from King Saga's Yagya, and King Saga, he sent his 60,000 sons to go and seek where had the horse gone. And his sons, they searched the whole planet. It's described. They went everywhere. They even went under the earth. And they even saw the elephants that hold up the earth. They had elephants in their search for the horse. And then it's described they dug a huge trench looking for the horse in the earth. And finally, after all their searching, they came to the of Kapila Dev. Kapila Dev, who had instructed his wife Devahuti, that we hear that pastime. Huh?
Mother.
His mother, sorry, yeah, his mother. Yeah, Devahuti's mother. Thank you, thank you. I'm glad someone's listening. Good, good, very good. Yes, thank you. So Devahuti, his mother, and he had come to this place, which is actually his ashram, is near the, they call it the Ganga Delta today. It's where the Ganga actually comes into the ocean. That's where his ashram is at the beginning. So, and they saw the horse peacefully grazing beside Kapila Rishi, Kapila Muni, and they immediately conjectured that, oh, he must have stolen the horse. This was the maliciousness of Indradev. He just planted the horse there, expecting that the sons wouldn't attack or do anything, because it seemed Kapila Dev was actually tending to the horse. So as soon as the 60,000, a lot of sons, as soon as they saw, these are the sons of Sumita, as soon as they saw the horse, they immediately felt anger towards Kapiladev, and they rushed towards him. And Kapiladev, it's described, just simply opened his eyes, and the heat of their anger incinerated them. That's how he arranged for that to happen. He reflected the heat back into their bodies. And because of the power of their anger, they'd been searching for years and years and years and years and years for the horse. So they were very, very angry when they suddenly found the horse and thought that it had been kidnapped by Kapiladev. So then they were all reduced to little piles of dust, little piles of ashes. And then when they didn't return to Saga Maharaj, then he sent out his grandson, what's that name? Asamanjasa. He couldn't go himself. That was the son of Keshini. But Asamanjasa's son is called Ansuman. And Ansuman, he went traveling looking for the horse. And he somehow or other, by providence, came quite quickly to the ashram of Kapiladev. And he saw the sacrificial horse there that had been roaming. We understand that what the horse's part in the Ashwamedha Yagyas is that it establishes the supremacy of the king. We heard yesterday about Sumudra Sen. So when the horse is sent out, and if anyone checks the horse, that means they have to do battle with the army behind. So Ansuman, he found the horse in the ashram of Kapiladev, and he begged some beautiful prayers respectfully towards Kapila Dev, Kapila Muni. And Kapila Muni was very pleased with his prayers and said he could take the horse. But Ansuman wasn't happy, because he realized that these ashes were actually his uncles that he had been searching for, the sons of his grandfather, um, King Saga. So then he requested Kapil Muni, what can I do about how can I um, benedict them with mercy from this? They've been incinerated. There's been no Shraddha ceremony or anything for them. What can I do to purify their existence into the next world? And at that time, very prophetically, Kapila Dev, he said, only when Ganga Devi comes here will they be purified. You have to invoke Ganga Devi to actually come to this planet to purify your uncles, and only then will they get the required punya to actually go back to Swagaloka, or to go into Swagaloka. So Ansuman goes back to King Saga, and in the meantime, King Saga actually he's left this world, and he's proclaimed that Ansuman will be the king of his kingdom. And Ansuman begins vigorous austerities to invoke Mother Ganga. But his austerities are in vain because he starts in later life and he doesn't have sufficient time to perform lengthy austerities to bring Mother Ganga to this world. So he has a son called Dilip, and Dilip doesn't really perform those austerities until he's also older, and he begins to perform the austerities when he's older. But he can't bring Mother Ganga also because it's too late for his austerities to take fruit. But he has a son called Bhagirat, and Bhagirat begins at a very early age in trying to call Mother Ganga from the uh, Milky Way. Actually, she's there. Ganga Devi is coming from the causal ocean. That's originally where she comes from. And originally, she comes from the spiritual world itself. There's a pastime where Krishna is consorting with a Saki called Ganga Devi or Ganga. And while he's with her, talking with her very nicely, then Sri Radhika comes and Ganga feels so embarrassed. Ganga Saki feels so embarrassed. She turns into a stream. And then Radhika, she says, "Oh, where is that Saki you were talking to?" And Krishna says, "There's no Saki here except you." This is how Gurudev describes in our Navadvipa Parikrama book. So then Radhika was satisfied. But that's the original manifestation of Ganga Devi. And then there are three different understandings of the origin of Ganga Devi. One is this that I've just described about Ganga Saki, and the second is when Vamana Dev, he scratched the causal ocean shell, and some of that pure causal ocean came through as Mother Ganga. That is the second one. And the third one is when Lord Brahma, he washes the feet of Vamanadev himself with his own Kamandalu. And then this is also understood to be Ganga Devi. So she's remarkably sacred. So Bhagirat, he's petitioning Ganga Devi to come to the earth. And after many years of austerities, Ganga Devi becomes satisfied and she manifests in a beautiful female form that we see sometimes riding on a crocodile. Her carrier is a crocodile. So this is Ganga Devi. And Ganga Devi listens to the request of Bhagirat to manifest her waters on this planet. And Ganga Devi says, "Yes, I will do this, but on two conditions. First of all, someone has to be able to catch the force of my um, uh, current. Otherwise, I will just push Bhumi Devi, Mother Earth, into Patala Loka with the force of my descent. There has to be some way to stop that. And secondly, if I come into this world, then all the conditioned jivas will bathe in my waters and all their sins will be purified on their bodies. And how will I manage to sustain all the sins of those conditioned souls? What will I do?" So she makes these two requests to Bhagirat. So Bhagavati, Bhagirati, Bhagirati. Then he um, tells Ganga Devi, "I will petition Shivji. Only Shivji has the power to catch the force of your current. I will petition Shivji to catch your current. And I will beg that all the pure devotees in the future, they will bathe in your waters, and by the purity of those pure devotees, they will purify the sins that are residing within your waters. Those sages and rishis and pure devotees themselves, they will purify your waters so that you'll always be pure." So Ganga Devi is satisfied by this answer of Bhagirat. And then again, Bhagirat has to perform austerities to petition Shivji to do this task. And Shivji is called Asutosh. So he is very easily pleased. So just after a short period of austerities, Bhagirat manages to uh, have darshan of Shivji. And he requests Shivji at that time, you please sustain the force of the current of Ganga Devi on your head. This is the only way that Ganga Devi will be able to descend in this world. And Shivji, he agrees. So Ganga Devi, she pours through the worlds. It's described that she's carried across the celestial airwaves by the Milky Way. Whenever we look at the Milky Way, all of those are planes that are carrying Ganga Devi across the celestial airways. But can you imagine from millions of miles away the force of all that water landing? Tremendous force. So that force lands on the head of Lord Shivji, and he spreads his jati locks, his dreadlocks everywhere. And he sports with Ganga Devi, it's described. And Ganga Devi plays in his dreadlocks, in his hair. That's why we always see the fountain of Ganga Devi on the head of Shivji, because Ganga Devi is sporting there. And then Ganga Devi divides into 4 different branches going in different directions. One branch goes down to the lower regions, another branch goes to the east, another branch comes to the west, but one branch comes into this world. And the at Gomati is what is the origin of Ganga in this world, in the Himalaya. So that Gomati, from that origin, she starts to follow the chariot of Bhagirat. Bhagirat has to direct her to his grand uncles that are there in ashes at Kapila's ashram. So Bhagirat is charging ahead on his chariot, and Ganga Devi is following uh, vigorously behind him. And Bhagirat is blowing his conch shell loudly, and he's coming through Prayag, he's coming through Kashi, he's coming through Haridwar, he's coming through all these different places. We see on a map of India the extent of Ganga Devi's journey right across India. She's one of the most nourishing rivers in India. Millions and millions sustain their existence by the waters of the Ganga, not just externally, but also internally, because she's so purifying. So Bhagirat, he's charging through, and he comes to this land of Navadvipa. And in this land, as soon as Ganga Devi comes here, she realizes this is the land of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. She realizes that. She has an understanding. This is non-different to my Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. And she becomes overjoyed and starts splashing her waves. And she starts going very very winding, because she wants to stay a long time in this dam. So she starts making huge, like, half circles. So she'll take time coming through. But she becomes very excited being here. And then she comes to this place of Jhanudvipa and comes through his ashram very vigorously, because she's so overjoyed. She's dancing, being in the land of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And she comes into the ashram of Janu Muni. And Janu Muni, in his ashram, she sweeps away a part of his ashram, including his achaman cup, etc. And Janu Rishi, at that time, Janu Muni, he's in samadhi. He's in samadhi completely, meditating on the Lord, meditating on Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And he opens his eyes at the disturbance of Ganga Devi rushing through his ashram. And when he sees Ganga Devi, initially caused by the disturbance, he becomes annoyed, angry that this has broken his samadhi. And then he realizes instantly who this is. This is actually Ganga Devi come to this world. But he reaches down with his right hand and he scoops all the water. He's a great Muni. He scoops all the water of Ganga Devi into his mouth and swallows her. And Bhagirat, who's meanwhile charging ahead, suddenly doesn't hear the waves behind, and he backtracks, and he comes to Janu Rishi, and Janu Muni, and he realizes that Janu Muni somehow or other has checked the flow of Ganga Devi. So again, he begins to petition Janu Muni with beautiful prayers, begging forgiveness, etc., and praying that Janu Rishi can resolve the problem, that Ganga Devi can come back on her journey, on her course across India. And Janamuni, he's touched by the prayers of Bhagirat, and he allows his thigh, his left-hand thigh, to be cut. He cuts his thigh with his nails so that Ganga Devi flows out of his thigh. he doesn't want to let her out of his mouth because that'll contaminate her. Going into the mouth is not so contaminating, but if it comes out of the mouth, that will be contaminating. So he cuts his thigh so that Jhanavi, now she will be called the daughter of Janumuni. Now she's going to be called her daughter because she's come from his thigh. So now she's called Jhanavi. So this is the Jhanavi. So then Bhagirath is overjoyed and he continues his journey on to Kapila Dev's ashram. And he comes into Kapila Dev's ashram, and by the potency of Mother Ganga, all of his grand uncles are relieved of their sinful reaction for trying to attack Kapila Muni, and they're purified and they go back to Swagaloka. And Ganga Devi herself at that time, as I described at the very beginning, where Kapila Dev's ashram is, she branches out and it becomes the Ganga Delta, they call it today, just beside near Calcutta. And then it goes into the ocean from there. And then it travels through the ocean and then it goes down into the lower regions also. Ganga Devi, she retains her independent identity, even though she goes into the ocean. Actually, it's described in Navadvipa Mahatmya by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This is described as the milk ocean also. So it's such a sacred body of water. And I've described these three ways of its advent from Ganga Saki, enjoying with Krishna, and breaking through from the causal ocean by the nail of Vamanadev, and Lord Brahma directly washing the lotus feet of Vamanadev. So this is the sacred descent of Mother Ganga. And this is the pastime that now we're in Jhanudvipa. Jhanudvipa is named after this pastime. This was the Muni, Rishi, and this is where we've come to. It's actually about a, 4-5 kilometer walk from our mutt in Keshavji Gaudiya Mutt. It's quite a hike today. And we come across the little bridge and we come to a T intersection. And a couple of days ago, we took the left to Samudragar. But today we're taking the right to Mamgachi or Modrumdvipa and Jhanudvipa. And we come to this place of Jhanudvipa. And here we hear this pastime of Ansuman initially finding the horse and understanding how to purify the sins of his uncles, his granduncles. So this is the pastime from here. And this Janumuni, of course, now he is actually the maternal grandfather of Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev, we know, is the son of Ganga Devi. Ganga Devi, she marries Shantanu. Shantanu is the king originally coming from the heavenly planets. Shantanu, his name originally was Mahabhisha. And Mahabhisha was in a conference with Lord Brahma, with many of the devas, the important masters of this world. And they were in a conference, Mahabhisha. And into that assembly, Ganga Devi comes. And she has a cloth over her head, chaste cloth, of course. But the cloth blew off. And all those men, being most chaste personalities, immediately put their heads down so as not to look at her naked hair like that. Except Mahabhishi, he looked straight at her with great attraction. And Ganga Devi looked straight back at him. So Lord Brahma, he saw this and he cursed them both. You're not allowed to have this kind of mood going on in grave assembly. He cursed them both to actually come to this world. And Mahabhish becomes Shantanu Maharaj, who rules the world, and Ganga Devi descends. And Ganga Devi, when she's being cursed by Lord Brahma to come here, meanwhile, the 8 Vasus, they were also cursed for stealing the horse of Vashishta Rishi. Not the horse, the cow, Kamandenu cow. Vashishta Rishi had that Kamandenu cow, and the Vasus, they steal that cow. So they are cursed by Vashishta Rishi to take birth on earth. So they hear that Mother Ganga is coming to the earth also. So they beg Mother Ganga, please let us take birth from your womb. And when we take birth from your womb, please kill us straight away so we'll come back to Swagaloka. So this was the arrangement. So this wonderful pastime, when Shantanu, he marries Ganga Devi, and Ganga Devi gives one condition, that you must never question what I do. I'll stay with you as long as you never question what I do, ever. If you question me, I'll leave. So she kills 7 of her sons, her newborn sons, right in front of Shantanu Maharaj. She places them in the Ganga and drowns them in her water. And they immediately resume their posts in the Swagaloka. But the 8th son, Shantanu Maharaj, he can't restrain himself. Why are you murdering my children like this, you heinous woman? Why are you doing like this? And you've broken the vow, the condition. We said, don't question what I do. Now I'm going to leave, Ganga Devi says, and I'll take this son with me. So she takes that 8th son. That son is called Devavrata at that time. And 16 years later, when Shantanu Maharaj is walking up the Ganga, he suddenly notices that the whole Ganga has been blocked off, been dammed. And he's really concerned. Where's all the water gone? So he follows and he comes to this dam of arrows, expertly built, interwoven so closely that no water can come through at all. Then he sees this young, heroic man of a 16-year-old boy standing beside that dam. And he questions that boy, and he realizes, this is my original son. And he explains that my mother is Ganga Devi. Then he realizes, this is my son. Then he takes that son back to his palace, back to his kingdom, and he nurtures him with great joy and happiness. And there's a time when Ganga Devi has left, and Shantanu is miserable and morose because he was so attached and attracted to Ganga Devi. And he goes traveling in his kingdom one time, and he comes to a fishing village, and he perceives this young girl, and she completely captivates his heart, and she has such an ecstatic fragrance about her. And he requests the father of that daughter to please let me have this young girl as my queen, as my wife. And the fisherman king, the king of the fishermen, he says, yes, you may have my daughter, but on one condition, that only her children will resume the kingship of your kingdom. So Shantanu is really stricken by this because he loves his son, Devavrata, so much that he wants to install him on the throne. So he says, no, that can't be like that. So he goes back to his kingdom, but he's completely morose and unhappy. And all the people in the palace, they realize this. And then Devavrata, he inquires from the chariot driver, why is my father so morose like that? And then the chariot driver, he relates to him what actually happened. And then Devavrata immediately goes to that village, and he tells the fisherman that he will never take the kingship, so that he is free now to give his daughter to my father, Shantanu Maharaj. And the fisherman, he agrees, but he says, what happens if you have children? If you have children, then they'll want to be the king. So at that time, this personality, Devavrata, he takes this remarkable vow of celibacy, and he proclaims, I will never marry in my life. And this is Bhishma Dev. And all the Devas at that time, they shower flowers over him. And they all support that incredible, because for a Kshatriya warrior to proclaim celibacy is practically unheard of. And this powerful son is going to propose that idea that he will never get married. So he does that. And the fisherman is completely satisfied. It's all confirmed by the Devas, etc. And then Bhishma Dev now his name is Bhishma Dev, not Devavrata, brings the daughter. Her name is Satyavati. Satyavati becomes the wife of Shantanu, and from her womb comes 3 sons, Chitrangada, what's the other ones? Chitrangada, and just forgotten for a minute. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, these are all pastimes from the Mahabharata, but it's all culminating in the personality of Bhishma Dev that we're talking about now. And this Bhishma Dev, he goes back in his later years to visit his maternal grandfather. His maternal grandfather is, of course, Janumuni. And this place is called Bhishma Tila. And we come to Bhishma Tila on the Parikrama trail. And this Bhishma Tila, it proclaims the glories of the conversation between Bhishma Dev and Janumuni. And when he stayed there for some time with his grandfather, who reveals him all of the Vedic knowledge, all the Shastra, all the knowledge of Manu. He gives him Jiva Tattva, Maya Tattva, Shakti Tattva. All tattvas are impressed into the heart of Bhishma Dev at that time by his maternal grandfather. And we know this because in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 9th chapter, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when Bhishma Dev falls on the bed of arrows, then Yudhishthira Maharaj is totally distraught at the number of killed personalities on the battle. 640 million people die on that battlefield. So this will give rise to Vana Sankar. So many unwanted children will manifest from this. So he's lamenting that all these, and he can't get over his grief. Not even Krishna, who's residing with him in Hastinapur, can't pacify his grieving heart. So he brings him to Bhishma Dev, dying on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And Krishna has benedicted him that he won't feel the slightest pain. And we know the story when different Mahabharata parts. Arjun puts the two arrows behind his head to keep his head up so he can speak. And Krishna tells Yudhishthira Maharaj, you request Bhishma Dev to tell you the secrets that he heard from Janumuni, and this will pacify your heart. Then for many days, Bhishma Dev, he's relating all of those truths and all of those remarkable revelations from Shastra that Janumuni infused into his heart when he visited that time. So we hear this pastime in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this pastime, this world of the Mahabharata, more or less, because that's where it leads us, is related in this particular forest of Jhanudvipa, where we are now, this island of Jhanudvipa. And Jhanudvipa is represented as Bhadravan, and it's the particular limb of bhakti is Vandanam, that is represented by this island. So we've come to this island of Jhanudvipa, Jhanudvipa Ki Jai, and we hear this descent of Ganga Devi in this. And it's important for us because we're in this land of Navadvipa and Ganga Devi is running through. And like I said, she's twisting here and there, moving because she wants to get the pleasure of being in this holy dham. So Ganga Devi is very much part of our lives here, just like Yamuna Devi is so much part of our life in Vrindavan, where Krishna performs all his pastimes. But there was a question that arose in the court of Akbar, 100 years ago, many years ago. Akbar. What is the date of Akbar? Do you remember? Do you know the century?
200.
More than that, I think.
Before Chaitanya.
Sort of, yes, practically around about the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So about 500-600 years ago, Akbar, the Muslim emperor, and in his court.
Around that time, because Jiva goes.
Yes, yes, yes. So at that time, that's the story. So at that time, um, Akbar, they're in discussion, in debate. Who is superior, Ganga Devi or Jamuna Devi? And for many days, many scholars are coming from all over India, and they're all discussing this topic. Who is superior? What is the tattvic, shastric conclusion in this topic? And finally, Akbar thinks the only way we can resolve this is to call the great renowned scholar Jiva Goswami from Vrindavan. But Jiva Goswami had taken Ketra Sannyas of never leaving for a day Vrindavan. So Akbar, he's requesting him to please come to Agra. Agra is Akbar's capital, which is about 30 kilometers from Vrindavan. And Jiva Goswami refuses. He says, no, I'm not going to break my vow. But then Akbar makes an arrangement. He says, I'll bring you here just for the 24 hours. I'll take you up and down. We'll have relay coaches and we'll bring you up and down so you don't have to spend a night outside of your beloved Vrindavan Dham. So Akbar, being the emperor of the whole of India, he can arrange like that. We can imagine so many relays of carriages taking him there. And when Jiva Goswami is presiding in the assembly, he starts to relay, first of all, the glories of Ganga Devi and her glorious descent that we've just described and where she's manifested from. But then he describes Jamuna Devi. Jamuna Devi is like a Saki. She's Kalindi Devi of Krishna directly. So therefore, it would appear that Jamuna Devi is superior. But then he um, reconciles that and he says, actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he bathed so much in Ganga Devi here. So therefore, Ganga Devi, therefore, they are both equal, was the conclusion. The conclusion is that even though Ganga Devi is considered the younger sister, actually, of Jamuna Devi is the older sister. And, um, and they converge together at Prayag and they travel into Navadvipa, Gordam together. And on the western side is the Jamuna, and on this eastern side is the Ganga. So whenever we bathe on that side, we should know, just like when Mahaprabhu was running to Vrindavan just after his sannyas, and Advaitaracharya described, you've just bathed in the Jamuna. You've just bathed in the eastern side of Jamuna. So this is the understanding that Jiva Goswami told to the emperor Akbar. So that's that pastime. So yes. So now we're coming through, we're leaving Jhanudvipa with thoughts of the glories of Ganga Devi, and we're refreshing our remembrances of those glories by these pastimes and how she manifested so mercifully for our purification. But now we come into Modrumdvipa, and this remarkable personality of Lord Ram is the person we're going to hear about in Modrumdvipa when Ram was exiled by what's her name? Ko- Koshalya is his mother. Kaikeyi.
IK.
Kaikeyi. Um, is it too cold for you? Is it? Tell me. Give me here. Take. So we come into Modrumdvipa. Modrumdvipa is where Lord Ram is taking shelter when he's exiled. He comes into this remarkable, beautiful forest, and there's a huge banyan tree which spreads its limbs everywhere, but it's no longer manifest now. And Lakshman, he builds a hut there, and they reside there. This is before they go to Dandakaranya, before that place. And they are residing happily in that um, cottage. And one day, Lord Ram, he's smiling. And Sita Devi, she says, "Oh, Ram, why are you smiling?" And he says, "I'm remembering my pastime here because now they're in Goradam." He says, "I'm remembering my pastimes here in Goradam." And she inquires, "What will those pastimes be, my lord?" And then he describes that, "I will marry you, your name will be Vishnu Priya, and I will leave you, and I will take the sannyas ashram." And she says, "Oh, my dear Lord, why will you do like that?" And he says, "My dear mother Kushalya, she will become Sachimata in this birth of my manifestation as Nimai Pandit." And she says, "Oh, my Lord, why will you do that?" And he says, "To benedict the conditioned jivas with prem. I'm taking this ashram to um, show them how to live in a renounced condition. And I am going to taste the speciality of the Vipralamba mood that I that is experienced in Gokul from you, this separation mood." And she describes like that. He describes like that. And it's at this time, because I described the other day about Gopinath, Kirshor Gopinath in Ramuna. It's at this time that Lord Ram, because Sita Devi, she requests, "Well, what is your form looking like then?" Or, after Ram, what is your avatar? What is your incarnation then? So he wants to show her his Krishna avatar. So he takes an arrow and he carves the beautiful form of Gopinath. And that's the form in Ramuna that we discussed the other day in connection with Madhavendra Puripad and the sweet rice kheer being stolen. So then, in our Navadvipa Parikrama book, my Gurudev describes very beautifully about the speciality of this separation mood. And we've talked many, many times about this speciality to try to appreciate this nature, this dynamic that creates the current of the highest devotion, the highest ecstasy. And this ecstasy of sambhog, of pure prem, this milan, this union, can only be nourished by the separation. If the separation mood is not there, then the height of the union will not be there. And we've discussed many times how Mahaprabhu, he wants to taste the height of the union as well as the height of the separation. The separation is called Mohan and Modan, and the union is called Madan. So we have Madan, Mohan. Madan Mohan represents, Madan is the meeting and Mohan is the separation. So Madan Mohan, like that. We remember like that. So I want to read here this paragraph that my Gurudev has described just to see it clearly. This is from the Navadvipa Parikrama book. It's on page 179. And my Gurudev is saying, after Sita Devi has questioned him, and Ram answers, I will appear in this world as Gauranga, just to teach the living entities Prem Bhakti. So this is the nature of Mahaprabhu. He is giving that prem. Even we deserve it or don't deserve it, Mahaprabhu will give that prem. This is the munificence of this Dham. This is the speciality of this Goradam over Vrindavan. We know Vrindavan and Goradam are the same, except Goradam has this extra speciality of magnanimity, this Odarya Shakti, this Odarya mood of complete compassionate giving the jivas. Krishna, yeyatamam pravadyante, according to our surrender, he will reward us. But Mahaprabhu even will give someone like Jagai and Madai, complete reprobates, Jagai and Madai, drunkards, murderers, rapists, burning down houses, arsonists, etc. He even gave them Krishna Prem. How much more merciful can this personality be? But in this pastime at Modrumdvipa, we're describing the speciality of their separation mood. So my Gurudev describes Prem Bhakti is tasted in two ways: meeting, sambhog, and separation, vipralamba. It's our aim and object of life to understand this, to appreciate this, because it's so prominent in all of the Vrindavan pastimes. The principal pastimes of Vrindavan are to support this loving relationship between Radha and Krishna. Even the cows support it, the trees support it, all the entities of Braj support the union between Radha and Krishna. But it's not continuous, otherwise, it would become down somewhat. To keep it at a high pitch, there must be the separation. And the simple example is if you love sweet rice and you eat it all the time, you'll get sick. You can't sustain your body on sweet rice. It's not going to work. You need to have the savory in between to start to hanker for that. So try to appreciate this. So Prem Bhakti is tasted in two ways: meeting, sambhog, and separation, vipralamba. In sambhog ras, the pleasure one receives in meeting is prominent. That's what's prominent. The meeting itself. And in that meeting, there's no conception internally of Krishna in any mood of being the supreme personality of Godhead. But in separation, there is sometimes a mood of thinking Krishna is that supreme Lord. We hear in Gopi Geet, they call him the supersoul residing in the hearts of all. What's that? Kala Gopika. I think it's the fourth verse of the Gopi Geet. It's describing that. Na Kala Gopika. I'll look at it in a minute. You can look. Fourth verse. Yes, tell me. Um, Nakala Gopika Nandana. No. Anyway, in Vipralamba Ras, in the distress of separation, one attains the happiness of constant internal meeting, in which everything external is forgotten. So, in that absorption of separation, it throws the consciousness into such a deep internal mood that there actually becomes union within the separation. Union will manifest within the separation. We only know the separation of this material world. We don't appreciate the separation of the spiritual reality. But in the spiritual reality, it's quite different. So in Vipralamba Ras, in the distress of separation, one attains the happiness of constant internal meeting, in which everything external is forgotten. Only in separation,
Antaratmadrik. Nakalu Gopika Nandano Bhava
Nakala Gopika, yes.
Nandano Bhava Akila Dehinam Antaratmadrik.
That's the fourth verse? Yes, fourth verse of Gopi Gita. Very beautiful. Antaratmadrik.
Means your mind.
Yes.
Atma.
Atma, inside, yes. Antar Atma. Yet they're referring to Krishna as being their Atma, the super soul. When they're in separation, they see like this, but when they're in meeting, they don't see like that. They don't see Krishna as the super soul, they just see him as their lover. Understand? It's an important point to understand. Only in separation do one pointed Rasik devotees attain the unlimited bliss of service. Without Vipralamba, Sambhog Ras is not nourished. Therefore, in Vipralamba, rasa is 1,000,000 times more relishable than in Sambhoga. But we should qualify this and understand that the actual height of the rasas is the same. I've said many times, my Gurudev will say that meeting is the pinnacle and separation is the highest. There's no difference. And I explained in detail even about the 8 sattvika bhavs are fully blazing, sudipta, in the meeting and in the separation. So they are the same. The same height of bliss is attained in both states of consciousness. Yet there is a great distinction in the way that they are actually manifest. In the meeting, when they're performing Ras Leela, everything is so intoxicatingly joyful and blissful. That is resulting in Madanakya Mahabhav for Sri Radhika only. And in separation mood, that experience comes from their distraught prayers in Gopi Geet, for example, and in the Pranaya Geet, and in the Venu Geet, and in the Brahmara Geet. All of these Geets, these 5 Geets of the Bhagavatam, starting with the Venu Geet, then Pranaya Geet, then Gopi Geet, then Yugal Geet, then Brahmara Geet. These 5 Geets are all songs of lamentation and separation. And within that separation, the gopis are experiencing the highest state of union and bliss. So this is inconceivable for the conditioned souls. It's inconceivable. It's achintya bhav. But we must hear this regularly. If we hear this regularly, we'll begin to develop some deeper sense of what is the nature of Vrindavan Dham. What constitutes Vrindavan Dham? What is it made? It's only made of the arrangements of the meeting and separation. It's not made of anything else. All day long, I've explained before, Krishna, he is anxious to be with Radhika, but there is like forced separation when he's got to be with Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba, etc., or he's just with the cowherd boys. Of course, he loves his relationship with um, Nanda and Yashoda. This is full Vatsalya Bhav, and he loves his relationship Sakya Bhav with the Sakas also. But the pinnacle is when he's with the gopis exclusively, without any elders. And I've explained many times how, if we examine the time frames, which are given very clearly by our acharyas, how long it does Nishanta Lila last? It's approximately 2 hours. How long does Madhyana Lila last? Approximately 5 hours. And how long does Ratri Lila last? Approximately 5 hours. That makes
Right.
12 hours. That's exactly half of the day. And then someone may object, oh, but Radha and Krishna, they meet during Pratalila, Purvana Lila, Apuvana Lila, Lila, Pratosh Lila. They meet, but they're surrounded by their relatives. They're surrounded by their elders. They don't meet in the same intimate way that they do during these 10 hours. So that meeting is not absolutely fulfilling, even though they do meet. But understand, what is Krishna showing us? He's showing us the nature of the spiritual realm is only love. From start to finish, it's only about love. There is nothing else except love. There's so much torture and suffering in this world. There's so much craziness and madness and disturbance in this world. It's hard for us to appreciate the nature of the spiritual world. But this is the nature of the spiritual world. This we must have and develop deep faith that by my practice of remembering Krishna, of performing my sadhan bhajan, of following the precepts of the acharyas, then I will definitely come to taste even a semblance, even a nam abas of that bliss, of the potency of the holy name. We move through this nam aparad in our chant. Today we sang this beautiful bhajan, Harinama Tua Aneka Swarupa. And if we meditate on the translation, it's only about Krishna's pastimes. It's all about Krishna's pastimes in different, huh?
10th canto.
10th canto, yes. Yashodanandan, Anandavardhana,
Uh,
and Putana,
Mar-
Trinavrata, Shakata, Murli Vardhan, Agabaka, Govardhan, Keshi Mardhan, Brahma Vimohan, Arista, Gopi Vimohan, the Yamuna Pulina, Radhika Ranjan, Rasika Rayan, Radha Kund, Kunja Bihari, Ram, Krishna, Hari. Ram is a name of Krishna when we chant. Matsyadi, Gana Avatari, Govinda, Vamana, Sri Madhusudan, Yadava, Chandra, Vanamali. These are all names of Krishna in Vrindavan. Kaliya Shatana, Gokula Ranjan, Radha Banjan, and then at the end, Rupa Swarup. What is the pure form? And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur is praying for this. So this is the beautiful bhajan that we sang today, this Harinama Tua Anikara Sarupa. So this is an indication that if we can immerse ourselves, our practice in remembrance, and that means all of the different aspects of Shastra. It's such a huge area that we can immerse ourselves in. It's not limited. So, by our careful study and reading and absorption, we can completely fill this material consciousness with nothing but thoughts of Krishna. There is enough material available. At the moment, we just get filled up with material considerations all the time. We're loaded with them. That's all we're thinking about. But actually, as we start to infuse more of Krishna's pastimes, what will be the result? It's like if you want to get the air out of a pot, say you have a clay pot, you want to get the air out of the pot. What do? You put something into it, you put water into it, and it will take the air out. So, in order to take the anartas and these distracting conceptions that we've held onto by our own desires, it's the material desires that have to be turned around. Do I really have this desire to come to the spiritual kingdom within my consciousness? Then hearing these pastimes about Modrumdvipa, for example, even just hearing the descent of the Ganga, of Ganga Devi and all her pastimes, these are all supportive for our one-pointed focus on Brajendranandan Sham Sundar, particularly in Goradam is going to purify us for Vrindavan Dham. What is the Astakalya Lila of Mahaprabhu? He's meditating on Nishanta Lila in Vrindavan. He's meditating on Surya Kund. He's meditating on all these pastimes. Actually, if you haven't spent time in Vrindavan, I don't know how you can remember Vrindavan in Goradam. I think you have to spend time in Vrindavan to fully feel that Vrindavan flavor that is being gifted in Goradam. If you've never really spent much time in Vrindavan, if you don't really know what the magic and sweetness of Vrindavan is, how can you remember that when you're in Gordam? You can, and it is possible. Devotees can by reading, by hearing, but the actual living experience of being in Radhakund, for example, being in Varshana, being in Nandagan, being in Kamyavan, being in all these places, Kokilvan, Javat, all these places, and we are actually directly in those places here, even though we can't see them. We were discussing yesterday how Swananda Sukara Kunj up the road is Nandagan directly. Directly, it's Nandagan because there is Nandishwara when you walk in the gate. That's Nanda. That's Nandishwara there with Nandi, the bull. And here, my Gurudeva said, it's Terakadamba. So where is Javat? You have to search. You have to ask. You have to ask Bhaktivinoda Thakur, lead me to Javat. He will. He's waiting just for this. Which sadhak is enthusiastic to know where Javat is? Who wants to know where Javat, where Radharani's home is? Who cares? Who is actually sincerely wanting to know? Where is her? It's close by. It must be close by. If this is Terakadamba, and Terakadamba is halfway between Nandagan and um, uh, Javat, and this is halfway, so another distance from Swananda Kusuka that way is going to bring us to Javat.
Barsana.
And where is Varshana? I'm always asking this question since I've been here. I've been asking that question the whole time. Actually, where I used to live behind Swananda Sukadakunj, once Prem Prayojan was there. And I was asking him, and he said, well, perhaps it's this place, just behind Swananda Sukadakunj, where I was staying in Varshana. But how wonderful. This is the nature of this Goradam. If we're following Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who uncovered all of these places, if we read very carefully through that Navadvipa Taranga, it's going from place to place in his mystical vision of all those places. That is a remarkable small book. You just passed me that little green book. Next one. Yes, thank you, sir. Well done. You're a good passer. This little book, this Navadvip Bhav Taranga, and this describes all of these holy places we've been to, but through the mystical lens of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He goes to Nrsimhapali. He comes here to Gautama. But where is Javat? I want to know, where is Javat? Who is going to show us where is Javat? We have to ask Bhaktivinoda Thakur. No, it's not mentioned. But we have to study carefully. We have to pray for guidance to come to these. We are of this generation where this Dham is already uncovered, I mean, to a degree. Mayapur is rising across the river, this gorgeous temple. I don't know how it will play out. Perhaps in the end, they will just be worshipping Sachinandan Gaurahari in that, what's it called? The Temple of Understanding, I think. But, huh? The planetarium, yeah. Well, we'll see how that actually works out. But that city is manifesting without doubt. And all of these places are gradually manifesting right around us in front of our eyes. They're manifesting. And I told you the story the other day about that Gorhrida, which is just down the road there. So if we have that desire, that hunger, and especially Radhakund, this place, how can we leave our bodies and not put a flag post in Radhakund, here in Gordam? You know, how proclaim it for all the devotees, the speciality and glories of it. Mahaprabhu will arrange all of these things himself. He will enthuse his devotees to do all this different research and to discover where are these holy places so that all the devotees in the future will come here like we go to Vrindavan. We go to Suryakund, we see the beautiful kund there that was worshipped by Radharani herself directly, the Surya Puja. There's a beautiful Surya temple there, for example. We see all the different Sakis kunjas in Radhakund. They're all there. Manifest, we can see them all. Lalita Kund is in the north there. It's just been refurbished, and all the other kunds are all around. If you live in Radhakund, you can discover all of those places. They're all there. They've all been opened up, but the devotees are too busy spreading the glories of Shuddhanam across the planet, which has to be done. The devotees' hearts are so soft, that they feel unhappy at the suffering of others and so much want to satisfy the hearts of the conditioned souls that they have at least Shuddha Bhakti. But for those who have Shuddha Bhakti, then we should take shelter of Goradam and come here and pray to Mahaprabhu to guide us in his mission. What is Mahaprabhu's mission? What is the mission that he has come to establish? Often we're just confused about our own madnesses that's so strong in this world, our own dysfunctions, etc., which are so prominent. But actually, if we can walk out of that mental um, uh, difficulty and just begin to see the reality of this Gordam historically, and where can we go in this Kali Yuga to help the future generations to become more immersed in these incredible, un, unknown before truths. Anapita chirim chirat means not for a long, 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 long time have these truths been available. And they're so available today. Any smartphone, you can just pick up, all these details. It's all there. Everything is there. It's amazing. So that's our savior. So Ram is in Modrumdvip and he's telling Sita Devi about his incarnation in this age. And Sita Devi, who is Vishnu Priya, Bhur Shakti, becomes distressed. And then Ram also says, and even in this birth as Ram, I will send you to the ashram of Valmiki. So Ram again is going to experience. Actually, Ram Lila is filled with Vipralambha, this mood of separation, when Sita is kidnapped by Ravana for
Sita
it.
is Shri Shakti, or is it who?
Bhu Shakti. Bhu Shakti, this is what it's saying here. He's described, it's saying, let me read it to you. He's asking, Sita Devi is Shri. Shri is Lakshmi and Vishnu Priya. What is it saying here? He says it directly. Um, Chanting sinners in my youth. Uh, at that time, my mother, Sachidev, who is none other than Kushalia, will weep, holding her daughter-in-law, Vishnu Priya, in her arms. You will be that Vishnu Priya. So that Vishnu Priya, we understood, is Burdevi. You will be that Vishnu Priya. I will thereafter remain in Puri and will also weep for you both day and night. So this sobers us up when we begin to appreciate the um, potency of this separation mood. So this is Modrumdvip. And in Modrumdvip, right next to where we've actually come, just before we come into this place, there's the place of Mamgachi. And the place of Mamgachi is the house of Sarang Goswami. Sarang Goswami was an elderly personality, and he was with Mahaprabhu during his pastimes. And one day, Mahaprabhu says to Sarang Goswami, he says, "You're getting elderly now. Why do you not have any brahmachari to help you in your chores of the ashram? You have so many things to do. Why you don't have some helper to help?" And Sarang Goswami, he says, "Because I can't find anyone qualified enough. They all, stupid." Whatever, So he can't find anyone qualified to, he would probably become impatient with them. So Mahaprabhu tells him directly, you will make someone qualified. If you initiate someone by your potency, you will make them qualified for your savas. So then Sarang Goswami, he says, all right, the first person I see tomorrow, I'm going to initiate. And who is the first person he sees? A dead body floating in the Ganga. He goes for his bath, and there's a dead young boy floating. So he brings that boy to the shore, and he chants the Diksha mantras in his ear. And that boy, by the potency of the Diksha mantras, the Gopal mantra especially, can revive the consciousness of the conditioned soul. And it revived his consciousness, and he comes back to life. And Sarang Goswami starts to explain to him how to actually act in this birth. And then the parents of the boy, who just put him in the Ganga the day before, they hear of this through the people and so on. And they come to the ashram. They say, "Oh, this is our son, dear son. Please, Murari, his name is. Please come home, come home." And Murari, by that time, says, "No, I owe my life to Sharan Goswami. I will stay here for the rest of my life with Sharan Goswami." And the parents, they explain, well, the day before he was bitten by a snake, and you can't cremate a body that has been bitten by a snake. The scriptures maintain that that body, if it's a child's body especially, should be thrown in the Ganga. Actually, most children, if they're very small children and die, are just thrown into the Ganga because they all know that is the most purifying place they can deposit that child. I saw once a young mother. She was running on the side of the Ganga looking really distraught, and she was carrying a baby in her arm, and then she just hurled it into the Ganga like that, hurled the baby into the Ganga. But she was really disturbed about it. But the full appreciation of a higher birth will definitely ensue if you put your remnants in the Ganga. And in older people, of course, if you're cremated and you put your last remains in the Ganga, there's nothing more that can be fortuitous for the conditioned soul. And if you ever do that, by the way, when you put the ashes in and the you see the white ashes go through the Ganga, you should turn away straight away. Don't follow the trail, because actually that will create some sort of attachment. And when you do it, make sure you put it under the water and open up the bag of the ashes. I did it the first time in my life, and I opened the ashes on the top, and there's a wind blowing, and all the ashes flew over me. So it's better to open them under the water, and then they'll make sure it gets into the waters itself. So this is so Sarango Swami. He brings this Murari back to life, and that Murari, he's finally called. Uh, what is it? Murari. Um, the boy Murari refused. Yes, and he stays the rest of his life with Sarangadev. So this is the pastime that we discuss in this place of Mamgachi. And in this place of Mamgachi, there's an incredible tree in the courtyard that is hollow inside. It's just like the Siddha Bakul tree. There's nothing inside. It's just the shell of the tree. And yet it blossoms and flowers. It is alive. It's keeping its life air in the... you went there the other day, right? You saw. Today you went there. Very good. This is where the Parikrama party went today, to Mamgachi. And you probably heard in Bengali and Hindi and other languages, it wasn't so easy. But here you're hearing the story more simply. Anyway, my Gurudev declares, and it's declared in Shastra, this tree directly witnessed this miracle of Sharang Goswami infusing life into this dead boy. So this tree is the witness to this pastime happening. So this happens in Mamgachi, and there's beautiful deities of that time, of Sarang Goswami on the altar there. Very beautiful. I think it's Madan Gopal is there on the altar there. Very, very special deities, special place. And then the next door place we come to is where we've already discussed the pastime of Ram and Sita, but there also is the birthplace of Vrindavan Das Thakur. Vrindavan Das Thakur, his mother, Narayani, was benedicted with that prasadam when she was a very young girl, 5 years old, in the courtyard of Srivas Thakur, and Mahaprabhu gave her prem directly, demonstrating his ability to give prem to anyone, even a young child. So this same little girl gives birth. Later on, she marries a Brahmin, very Paka Brahmin, and who dies practically straight away after Narayani gives birth. He leaves his body. So Vrindavan Das Thakur spends his whole life taking care of his mother. And he's born here in this place of Modrumdvipa, which is right next to the house of Vasudev Datta. Vasudev Datta is the father of Malini, who's the wife of Srivas Thakur. So understand the relationships of all Mahaprabhu's parikars. So that's Malini Devi. So Vrindavan Das Thakur, later on he goes to a place called Denur, which is about 150 miles south towards Calcutta. And his mother has some ancestral land there. And now they have a very nice temple there just dedicated to Vrindavan Das Thakur. And every year on his appearance day, there's a huge festival there. It's very inspiring. So there's the house there of Malini and Vasudev Dutt, who was a great um, eternal parika, Nityasiddha parika of Mahaprabhu. And also there's the house of Sadananda Bhattacharya. Sadananda Bhattacharya in Ram Leela is Guhaka. Guhaka is that boatman who carries Ram across the Ganga. And he's the boatman who ferries across all the residents of Ayodhya when they want to go to the forest of Chitrakoot and beg Ram to come back to his kingdom in that pastime, that Leela. So uh, that personality, Guhaka, he becomes Sadananda Bhattacharya and he witnesses the birth of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He witnesses his birth directly and he understands this is Brajendrananda and Shyam Sundar, but almost instantly he's given a darshan of his Ram. This is his Ram also. He's seeing that Krishna and Ram are non-different like that. So he's seeing that. So he stays in this place also, because this is actually the very place where Ram stayed. This is the place where Ram built that, or Lakshman built that hut, and Ram stayed in the forest at that time for 14 years, exiled by his father. So the whole Ramayana pastime comes to life there, because all Krishna's pastimes, all of his avatars are all included within all of his places. All of the pastimes are present there. This holy dham contains all of Krishna's pastimes. So we hear them in different locations. Here, particularly in Modrumdvipa, it's a mood of hearing Ram Leela. My Gurudev was so versed in Ram Leela, he would talk for hours without stop. On Ram Nomi, which is coming next month, he would talk for sometimes 3 days just on Ram Leela. So these are very beautiful conceptions, but I'm not going to speak all those pastimes now. I'm just going to sit on the Navadvipa Dham schedule. So we've been to Jhanudvipa today, we've been to Modrumdvipa today, and we've heard about Ram, and we've been to Mamgachi today, and the house of Sarang Goswami, and I think that's complete. That's all our places today. That's all the places that we go. Traditionally, we will take breakfast prasadam at Modrumdvip, and then we will walk back the opposite way to which we came. So we will circumambulate and we'll come back into Rudradvip, which completes our circle of this Goramandal Parikrama. So today we're celebrating that we have completed our Navadvip Parikrama. We started in Antardvip, then we went to Simantadvip, then we circled around into Goldrumdvip, then we came into Madhyamdvip, where the sages and rishis are celebrated. And then we crossed over the Ganga into Koladvip. Then we went to um, uh, Ritudvip. After Koladvip, we go to Samudraga, then we go to Champahata, then we come around into Vidyanagar, which is in Ritudvip. Then from Ritudvip, today we've come to Jhanudvip, and then Modrumdvip, and we touch on Rudradvip at the end. So add up Antardvip, Simantadvip, Goldrumdvip, Madhyadvip, Koladvip, Ritudvip, Jhanudvip, Modrumdvip, and Rudradvip. 9. So success. We've covered all the 9 islands and try to remember their order. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes that the order of the islands and their forests that they represent are not in the same order as in Vrindavan. Like Bandiravan and Badravan are next to each other, and Bailvan are next to each other in Vrindavan. Then Lohavan and Mahavan, they all on the eastern side of the Jamuna. But here they're not in that same order that Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And our remarkable appreciation of Bhaktivinoda Thakur basically is giving us all of this. Everything that we've described has all come from Navadvip Dham Mahatmya and this Navadvip Bhav Taranga and all the research that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Without Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we would not begin for a moment to understand or to have any sort of vision of this Goradam at all. Not at all. What to speak of just the Yogapit itself. But all of these places, so our honor and reverence towards our divine master, we can say, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is extreme here. And we're so fortunate to be staying, giving this Harikatha from Surabhikunj. So we discussed yesterday, this is the described in the Goldrum Kalpatavi, how this is the storehouse, the marketplace of the holy name. It's all manifesting from here. So this is our great fortune. So I'm going to stop early today because I think we've covered all the places that we can celebrate success that we have performed a virtual Navadvipa Parikrama. And I'm exhausted. I don't know how you all are, but trucking around all the places, I put my head right into each place and relished each place. And tomorrow will be our Gaur Purnima festival when we celebrate the rising full moon of the sun of Sachimata in the sky. And we fast, of course, in honor of Vishnu Tattva, of Mahaprabhu. This fasting is very important because we're demonstrating directly, actively, some type of submission, some type of little bit of austerity. I mean, to actually still the digestive system for a single day is so healthy for the digestion. It's so healthy for it to have a rest. We actually get an opportunity twice a month to do like that in Ekadashi. So it's very healthy. And tomorrow we will fast until moonrise. And then we will have Gora Arti, and then we will celebrate with a Ekadashi preparation feast. Ekadashi means only ginger, namak, salt, black pepper, and turmeric. Only those four spices should be there, not chili. In the Gaudiya Mat, they love to put the chili in. They can hardly stay away from it. But actually, that's not Ekadashi. Yes, I know. But Avadut Maharaj promised me this morning he wouldn't do it, but we'll see what happens. But actually, it's not Ekadashi if you put chili in. Not Ekadashi. Not. 100% it's not. But the Gaudiya Mat overlook it because of their tongue. Like they don't, anyway, doesn't matter. Different group, different teachings by different um, acharyas. So not acharyas, but the devotees make it like that. So I hope the devotees have been satisfied with their parikrama, and we'll sing a little kirtan and then conclude. So Goramandal ki jai, Parikrama Dham ki jai, Gold Premanandi. Krishna De Bhagavantam Bande, Krishna De Bhagavantam Bande, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Bande, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Bande, Mana Mana Samadukaram Arpaya Nija Pada Pankaja Makarande, Mana Mana Samadukaram Pada Pankaja Makarande, O Krishna Deva Bhavantam Bande. Yadi api samadhishu vidya api pashyati natava nakagramarichin. Yadi api samadhishu vidya api pashyati natava nakagramarichin. Idame chami nityam yatavachuta tadapi kripa duta vichim. Idame chami nityam yatavachuta tadapi kripa duta vichim. O Krishna Deva Bhavantam Bande, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Bande, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Bande. Bhakti Udan Chati Adi Api Madhava Natvai Mama Tila Matri Adi Api Bhakti Udan Chati Adi Api Madhava Bhakti Parameshwara Tata Davita Vadika Durgata Gatana Vidhatri Parameshwara Tadavita Vadika Durgata Gatana Vibhati O Krishna Deva Bhavantam Bande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Bande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Bande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Bande Ayam Avilo Yataya Yat Sanatana Kalita Tuta Rasabaram Ayam Avilo Yataya Yat Sanatana Kalita Tuta Rasabaram Nivasatu Nityamiham Rita Nindini Vidan Madhuri Masaram Nivasatu Nityamiham Rita Nindini Vidan Madhuri Masaram Krishna Deva Bhavantam Bande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Bande Krishna Hey 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 Oh Prabhu Hey 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 Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Oh Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Radhe Gokula Charuni Mandala Mahite Gokula Charuni Mandala Mahite Gokula Charuni Mandala Mahite Gokula Charuni Mandala Mahite O Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite 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 Namadara Rati Vardana Veshe Hari Nishkuta Vrinda Vipineshe 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 O Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Vrishabhanu Dahari Navashashi Leke Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake Vrishabhanu Dahari Navashashi Leke Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake Vrishabhanu Dahari Navashashi Leke Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake Vrishabhanu Dahari Navashashi Leke Lalita Saki Guna O Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite 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 Karanam Karumayi Karanambarite Sanaka Sanatana Bahanita Chatite Karanam Kurumayi Karanambarite Sanaka Sanatana Bahanita Charite Karanam Karumayi Karanambarite Sanaka Sanatana Bahanita Charite Karanam Kurumayi Karanambarite Sanaka Sanatana Bahanita Charite O Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite O Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite O Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jaya Radha Madhav, Radha Madhav, Radha Madhav, Jaya Shri Radhe, Radha Madhav, Radha Madhav, Radha Madhav, Jaya Shri Radhe, 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 Radhe. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Navadvipa Parikrama ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanandi, Hari, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. Vanchakalpa Tarupyascha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnave Namo. Shri Gurudev ki jai.